look at the Wordle interface at my screen, you notice that there are already pre-made boxes in which my letters will display as I play this game. For example, let's say I try party, the word that has been chosen, it tells me that there's an A in there, but not in the right place. None of the other letters are present. Let's say I try music. It tells me again there's an S, but not in the right place. Let's say I try, honed, and once again, so I know there's A, there's S, there's E. Let's try maybe liked, maybe likes. Okay, there's an S. Let's try this. Okay, so it tells me there's an E in the right place, and there are S and E. So we know with these things we can actually solve the game, just like a regular Wordle. But the good thing with this kind of interface is that it automatically tells me that look, there are this many chances you have, after which the game is going to get over. Now contrast this with what we are building in the class. For example, here, let's say I try music. The labels are created on the fly. So I say, for example, party. So it tells out that okay, there's R and T in the right place. There's no S. So let's try, let's say, just for the sake of it, let's say I try hone now, and so on, right? So we can actually, so it's something ORTs. It could be ports. We'll just try this once. If it is, it's not ports anyway, but we are very, very close to it. So probably it's sorts. Now we'll try this. Okay, it's not sorts anyway, so we can play with the game. That's not the point, but we will see in this video how we will go from this interface to, let's say, this interface. Now, obviously, we are enhancing the Wordle project from the YByte Python curriculum, available at www.ybyte.in. Now, in fact, doing this is quite simple. All we need to do is to create these labels upfront before the game is made, before the game starts, and then we will see how we can create those little gaps between them. So to create the labels upfront, I get to my, my program here. Remember, I need 6 rows and 5 columns because I get 6 chances to play the game. I can do this with a nested for loop, and I can just go and say for JJ in range, for example, 5, for KK in range, say, so 6 rows and 5 columns. So the first one, JJ, should be in range 6 and KK in range 5. Well, all I'll do is to create a label the way we were doing earlier as well. Let me just call it label, let's say label guess is equal to tk dot label. Now in the beginning, obviously, there is no text in this, so I say text is empty. And then I'll just make it similar size as I had done earlier. So I just go and say pad wise, say 5, font is equal to 12. Now this is just for me, you can try other fonts, other sizes and so on. And I just put, say, border width is equal to 1. I put relief is, say, solid. Now, of course, again, there are options. So, you can try, for example, sunken, or say groove, whatever you like, right? So, but that sets up the label. Remember, however, this is just defined the label in a nested loop. I must also go and place it. So I just go and do that. Label gets.grid. I will use the grid method here. I want these labels to end up on top of the entry box and this button. And we can do that as we have seen previously. I can just go and say row is equal to JJ and column is equal to KK. In order to make sure that the widget completely expands and occupies the space, I just use this option called sticky is tk.nsew. We have seen this before. When we run this piece of code, we get this grid of labels being formed. In fact, the game can just go on as earlier. So say party, and I see, so my word has P in the right place. In fact, I'm quite lucky. I've almost got the word here. Let me just try a little bit more. Okay, so I know it's okay. I think I guessed the word. It's probably praise. Let's just try that. And indeed, I won, right? So the game is in fact working exactly the same. Now remember, I want to create a little bit of gap between these different labels. So I can do that by, adding a padding in the grid itself. So I can just go and say, look here, I will put pad x equals to 5 and say pad y equals to 5. Now remember, padding essentially means that, I'm keeping some pixels of space between each of these, let's say grid units, right? However, remember that I am going to have to do the same thing on the letter formation as well. So I just go and do that over here as well, because I'm following the same style in this. I just go and say, well, pad x equals to 5 and pad y equals to 5 as well. Now, when we run this piece of code, I get a fairly nice looking, let's say, GUI. Let's try again. Let's say party. In fact, the letters form quite neatly as well. So I've got an R in there. Let me try music. Okay, so I've got U, R, and S. So could it be purse? P-U-R-S-E. Let's try. Okay, so well, I didn't get much information, but I know S is neither here nor here. So S has to be in either of these two. Well, we could solve. Of course, we could solve this, but that was not my objective here. We saw how we got this display in the way that we wanted. Now, before I wrap up, I just want to make one point that, the way we are doing this, in fact, we are creating two labels at this point, right? So we have already created a label which is there in the beginning, which is empty. On the same location, we are creating another label on which the letter is given. So this is somewhat little bit wasteful. There is actually a more efficient method of doing this. What we can do is to create these labels upfront, which we are doing, and we can then store them in a two-dimensional list, or say a list of lists, kind of what we will do, for example, in the Minesweeper project, and once we have that in the list of lists, then we can go and configure exactly every label by the row and column index, right? So, that can be done that way. Only one set of labels would have been created, but given that this is a small project, it's fine to do this as well. I hope you found this interesting. YByte has this unique methodology where we build activities which are open-ended, and then we explore enhancements on how we can make those activities better. Look at our website www.ybyte.in because we learn Python programming through such fun activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.